The biggest problem associated with being out of shape is that you lack respect for yourself. And the problem with that is, when you lack respect for yourself, others follow suit. Before you do anything or even open your mouth, your social baseline has been set based on that appearance. And that appearance is a lot more damaging than you realize, because it communicates that you're the type of person that makes consistently wrong decisions. And again, because it's a subconscious thing, they automatically put you in the bucket of people I take less serious. And I stand by this from a man's perspective, because when I see somebody that's out of shape, I think the exact same thing. I think, how have you managed to get this bad? How have you managed to let yourself slide? Do you not care? Which also makes me think, well, if you don't care, why should I care? And yeah, it's harsh, but that's just life, isn't it? And a woman's perspective isn't much different. She's looking at you and making judgments based off what she sees, and what she sees isn't very impressive. So why would she waste her time investing in you? And overall, what's going to happen is that people aren't going to engage with you the way that they really should do. They're only going to put so much of themselves forward. They're not going to be as warm towards you. Again, this applies to men and women. And I also relate to this from the perspective of somebody who didn't have much presence before. Having a bang average physique, and then to add to that, not being the tallest person, my presence was very little. And there's like a vibe, you can feel it. It's like all the men just don't take you as serious as they should do. And the women, they'd just completely bypass you. Now, I've been in a relationship for a while, and I can tell you this from the heart. Even your relationship isn't safe. You see, I didn't even notice it until I got in shape. Again, it comes back to the respect thing. And just in general, being out of shape and the qualities associated with that are not qualities that people like to associate with, because people like to associate themselves with positive or better people. Now, whether the person themselves is actually a positive person or not is irrelevant. People always feel like they're better than they are, so they want to associate themselves upwards. But as bad as all of that sounds, that's not even the worst part. Because the worst part happens subtly and it trickles into how you behave. Now, the first part I was speaking about is what you didn't notice. However, now it gets to the point where it begins to compound and you do begin to feel that something is off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but something is off. But unless you've been lean before, it's virtually impossible to detect because you have no comparing contrast. Now, as a result, you begin to engage with people less because you're almost trying to like beat people to the punch. You know that they're going to be slightly off with you, so you just save them the hassle. And when you do engage with people, you speak less freely because you don't want to experience what you've already repeatedly experienced. At this point, what you've identified is the pattern, but you've not identified the root cause of it, so it keeps happening. And to make matters worse, not only do people not respect you because you're out of shape, they also have this slight bit of awkwardness when they engage with you. But this is truly where it gets terrible, because over time, that pattern begins to seep into your identity so much that it remolds who you are as a person, so you stray further from your true self. So now you're hyper aware of how people treat you. This only makes you hypercritical of everything that you do. But unfortunately, the brain always favors negativity. So you become self-conscious and anxious, and that puts you in a vulnerable state. But after enough underwhelming interactions, this pattern becomes stamped into your brain, and your brain begins to identify it as the norm, which brings us to the very root cause of the problem. You're in a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're in a negative feedback loop. Think about it. You have poor interactions, so you don't get the intended outcome that you're looking for, which actually leads to you being a bit more anxious. But then you tailor your behavior according to that, which actually makes your lived experience even worse. So you stray further from who you are. And this thing that happened, it no longer is a thing. It becomes a pattern. And it becomes a pattern that's proved to be correct. So the shame sets in and your anxiety rises. So you adopt the lesser version of yourself to be true, which makes you more standoffish and you put less effort in, which leads to even worse lived experience. So you can see how this cycle continues. Getting in shape has its obvious health and appearance benefits, but it's about the identity. It's about the person that it changes you into over time. So you're not just actively trying to level up. You're trying to consciously prevent yourself from leveling down and getting continually worse. So if you're a person that's out of shape, I want you to rank your current lived experience. I'm talking about your social life, your dating life, just opportunities in general. Rank it out of 10. Now, whilst there's obviously other factors that can be at play here, if you're out of shape, I can guarantee that your physique is the thing that's influencing your reality. But this video alone won't solve everything. There's more pieces to the puzzle, and this is just one of them. This is what's going to help you get much closer to your goal of being lean.